With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Ralph at Neishloss and Fleming.
Thank you, Colby.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's get
All
rolling.
right. So let's get rolling. How is it?
Wow, do it again.
Do it again.
All right. So my name is Ralph Wagner. I'm one of the sales managers at Neishloss and Fleming. I am also joined here today by Joe Henderson, which is the director, and Chris Holmes, which is the vice president of sales. And I want to thank all for allowing us to come here and have the opportunity to share with you some of the knowledge that we have. Just to give you a little background on me so that you have an idea who's in front of you talking. I've been in the insurance and financial services industry for going on 19 years. And I have been an agent much more than I've been on this side of the world. But what I have found is that I really love training people. So here I am, trying to train people, right? So, busy guy at home. I am in the process of being married again. And yes, I said again, between her and I, we have seven. So they range from 31 down to 14. It keeps us busy. And it's, I got a grandchild on the way too. So very busy. What we're going to experience today is NF and NF teach. So what we're doing with teach is we put this together because we found that a lot of agents out there simply needed some help understanding how Medicare itself works, right? Because what we find is that a lot of agents are out there just being transactional. They're just trying to sell products. And what we do is we try to teach how to be a consultative type of sale. All right. So with that said, the very first thing I'm going to have you do is I want you to zap that QR code. And what that is all the products that I'm holding up in my hand here. So you actually get a copy of the presentation amongst lots of things. There's a fact finder, or what we call a needs analysis. There is a nice little card about A and B. And then there's also another one about the IRMA, which if you're not in the Medicare space, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. And then there's a couple of books that are actually United Healthcare based, as well as many other things. The point is, go there and you can download all of this stuff digitally, so you have a copy of it. I see some phones up still, so I'll give you a minute. All right.
Okay.
Everybody ready? Part one. Here we go. Who here has ever heard of the author, Robert Kiyosaki? Oh man, I love this room. Lots of hands, and I'm betting on mine is probably a good bit too. Robert Kiyosaki wrote which book? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now you know he wrote another book, Cash Flow Quadrants. I really love this one. If you guys already know this, it's going to save my voice. Yes, Cash Flow Quadrant, in my opinion, was a better book than the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what was the cash flow quadrant? I'm going to real quickly cover this because I have a feeling some of you have seen this before. But basically, he says there's four different ways that you can make money out there in the world. The first of those is to be an employee. Who can tell me what an employee is? Say again? He works for somebody, right? He has a job or she has a job. And the funny part about an employee is it's income based on position, not necessarily how talented you may or may not be. They're going to pay whatever that position they need filled is worth. So that's part one. But part two is, how does an employee get paid? How do they earn income? There it is. Trade time for money. They trade time for money. And what happens if you don't have time to trade for money? What if you get hurt? What if you get sick? How much money do you make? You don't make any money, right? Okay. So the second way of making money is called self-employed. What is self-employed? Anybody? Works for himself. I love my job so much. I wanted to go and do it for me. right? So maybe I got a little flexibility doing it that way, but basically you own a job. And here's some examples of that: dentist, doctor, lawyer, stylist, real estate agent, salespeople. I always give John the plumber's example. You know, John the plumber loved plumbing where he started out and decided, I'm going to start my own business. And he decides to go get a truck. He puts his name on the truck. He goes out there and he does plumbing and he makes money. But still, he has to do what? Trade time for money. If he doesn't go out and do plumbing today, how much money does he make? None, right? So, important distinction here. Now, these two, okay, are linear income. Linear, meaning you got to take time to make money. So, third is a business owner. What's the difference between a business owner and being self-employed? Anybody? Have employees, that's a possibility. Anyone else? So the big thing is it's a system. They own an asset. It's a system, or it could be employees, like you had mentioned. For example, John the plumber. What would make John the plumber not self-employed? He might get employees. And if he gets employees and he has 10 plumbers now employed, and they all have a truck, and they all go out, then they all make him money. He could be on the beach today. He's still making money because they're out there doing plumbing for him because he put a system in place. There's a process there. Now, you're going to find that that's the most important part of this stream today is the process. So, what's the fourth way as an investor? What's an investor? You make your money, make money. Right? You have your money work for you instead of you working for it. That's the way to really do it. And some other time we can have a conversation about the rule of 72 and all kinds of neat stuff. But these people enjoy complete freedom because they've figured out how to make money work for them. The thing is, you have to have money in order to make money work for you, don't you? This side over here. Oh, man. Back it up. There we go. This side over here. It's called passive income. This side was linear. The major difference is the system. And what you're going to find as we go through this today, I'm going to walk you through very quickly a process of what a system might look like in this industry that can create success regardless of who you are and where you're at. The other thing I want to share is that this training that I'm putting on for you today is typically a 6-hour training. Right? You're not going to be here 6 hours. We'll be done before midnight. I'm kidding. I expect this to take about an hour and a half total. I just want to make sure you understand that I'm going to graze through some of this. And if you want to get more in depth as we go through this, you're going to find that we're going to have this out on video and doing clips of it to get into much more depth at a later date here in the probably next 3 or 4 weeks. So on this quadrant, where do most people fall? Like if you go out into the world today, all the people working, they're on this side. They're on this side. Well, how come? What stops them from wanting to be over here? Fear, job security, comfort zone. Anyone else? There's 3 big reasons that people get stuck over here. About 95% of them are on this side. 3 things: time, knowledge, and money. Time, knowledge, and money is what stops them. And you know, it's beautiful with a company like Neishloss and Fleming that teams up with a team like HDI, and we have all the tools and support necessary to make sure that you get over some of those obstacles, if not all of them. So I'm going to guess that everybody in here probably wants to be on that side. Passive income, right? You know what's really cool about our business? It's one of the few I know of that you're actually self-employed when you start, but you still can get passive income. We'll talk about that some other time, but it's awesome. So moving on,
moving on.
Why people buy.
Why people buy.
There are 4 reasons people buy, and
There
I
are
do
4
not
reasons
care what the
people buy, and
product
I
is.
do not care what the
Doesn't matter.
product is. Doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter. What are the 4 reasons people buy? The first one's credibility.
First one's credibility.
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 I'm bound. Young lady, what kind of phone do you have? Samsung. Okay. What made you get a Samsung? You like the brand. Okay. You knew the brand before you went and bought the Samsung, right? Good. Well, so Samsung's pretty credible, right? Just like I have an iPhone and I like iPhone because it's credible. I know who Apple is. They're a little bit big. But credibility in our business, how do we build credibility as agents? And actually, let me back up just a step for a second. What business are we in? What do we do here? What do you do in your career? Serve clients, help people, solve problems. Do we sell anything? Financial gaps? I hear lots of answers, right? Usually I hear, well, we sell insurance, we sell it. But do we? Here's what's most important. We don't sell stuff. You know what we sell? Ourselves. If you learn to sell yourself, which I'm going to teach you today, pay close attention because I'm going to teach you how to get people to buy from you. You don't have to sell anything. If you just follow a process, you're going to be able to teach your client to buy from you. And it's easy. So we don't sell insurance. That's a product. We sell ourselves. Sell yourself and you'll do really well in this business. The first reason people buy is credibility. How do we build credibility in this business? I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to, because if I continue to go down the path I'm on, we're going to be here all night. But credibility, it's built in this business by things like having a license, right? We have to go get a license in order to do our business. Well, when I get in front of somebody, I've been in this industry going on 19 years, but someone that's brand new, how do they build credibility? Well, you might have to borrow it. What do I mean? Well, HGI is a pretty big company. Neishloss and Fleming's a pretty big company, and you're attached to both of them. So make sure you make mention that you're attached to those 2 big companies that are backing and helping support you, right? That might help with credibility. Getting licensed will help you get credibility. Getting the AHIP tests is credibility. All credible stuff, right? Amongst other things. Plus, you can tell your own stories and say, why you got to know this business. All builds credibility. Second thing is value. And again, I don't care what the product is. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. If you build your stack of value higher than their stack of money, by the time you're done with the presentation, as long as the stack of value is higher than the money they're going to buy. If it's the other way around and that stack of money higher than the value you've provided, they're not buying today, no matter what you say. Now let's talk about value in this business. In the Medicare space, people work their whole life. They pay into taxes. Part of that tax is for Medicare. And at the end, you work 40, 50 years of your life, right? The old 40-40. Who knows what that is, right? 40 years for 4 hours a week, right? But you get there and you get a book. You get this big, thick, uh, it looks like a phone book. Who here knows what a phone book is, right? I'm aging myself a little, sorry. But yeah, you get this thing, it almost looks like a phone book, and it's called Medicare and You. And that is your explanation from the government. The government says, hey, congratulations, you just got to 65 and you earned Medicare. Here's your explanation. You would think they would like send out like an employee or somebody to come explain it to me. No, you get a book. And then on top of that, then you get like about a foot and a half tall pile of mail that comes every single open enrollment period. People get this, I mean, it's like this high. You walk in their house, they get the book that they never read because you have to be a lawyer almost to read the book and understand it to make sense of Medicare. And then the other thing is this big pile, which is all the products that people want you to buy. So the value that we have in this business is because we know how it works. We can explain the book and the pile. I can break it all down to one sheet of paper that's very specific to you and your situation. And I actually have that piece of paper that you got digitally, if you took the QR code early on, that I could actually hand somebody and it would explain Medicare, the whole thing. So, value, our value is us, not some product. Forget products. I am not going to even discuss products today. Just so you know. Affordability. That goes without saying. Listen, I would love to go buy a Dodge Viper right now. Right now, I want the 12-cylinder engine. It's probably as big as me. But chances are, I mean, I probably could finance it, but I don't think I'd want the payment. So it would be unaffordable. And our business, what's neat is a lot of our plans, for those of you that have done any Medicare, you'll find there is zero premium. That means they don't pay anything every month. And for those of you that aren't selling it yet, how come? It's a zero premium product in a lot of cases, not every case, but a lot of cases. But take that a step further. What's affordable from our standpoint is how does the plan respond when they're using it as your client? Those are the things you want to protect them from to make sure it's still affordable for them and the best decision. Moving on, urgency. This is the one most people miss the most in any sales background, we'll say. It's urgency. The urgency not to do it like tomorrow or next week or next month. No, the urgency to do it today, right now, while I'm here. Urgency. Think of urgency like this. And what's cool about our business, urgency's pre-created. You know that if you work enough, you get Medicare at 65. That means everybody that turns 65, which it's about 11,000 people a day, every day, 11,000 more turn 65. And guess what? They need help. They get the book, they get the pile. They need people like us to go and say, "Hey, oh, hello," and get in front of them. It's forced urgency. They have to do something. Well, they don't have to. They could keep just Medicare, which you're going to find out in a minute they don't want to do. But it's forced urgency. So I'm going to move on. Everybody got that? 4 reasons people buy: credibility, value, affordability, urgency. Good? Huh. The fact finder. Some people call this a needs analysis. We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about something called the pickle. I know you're probably like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. I am a little. Sorry. So I bring this little squeaky toy for a reason. I want you to remember the pickle, because the pickle stands for PCL. PCL. And then I'm going to tell you what that stands for. P stands for pain. Can everybody hear that? Pain. It's pain. P stands for pain. C stands for consequences. Consequences. And the L stands for lead. And in a moment, you'll understand how that all fits. And then I try to make humor out of insurance. Let's face it, it's the insurance business. Part of our motto at Neishloss is to do things with humor. So I'm trying. So we got the pickle. All right. And we're going to learn something called the pivot. Pivot. Okay. And all pivot is just like it sounds. It's going from one thing to the next thing and then to the next thing. Now let me explain. So what's a fact finder? A fact finder, as soon as I get it in front of me, is probably the best tool you have in your toolbox in this business. Because if you do this part right, and I think it says this on the screen, this step, if done correctly, determines the products the clients purchase, but it's even bigger than that. This step, if done correctly, gets people to buy from you instead of you having to sell anything. They will close themselves because they will answer some questions on a needs analysis. Now, I want you to visualize for a second. For those of you that do go out into people's homes, and then that's the kind of sale you do, I just want you to walk through your mind with me for a second. You get to a home. First of all, if you went to anybody's home today, even if it wasn't for insurance, if you just were going over to a friend's house, you were invited, what would happen? Wow. It's quiet in here. Did I put y'all to sleep? Do I have to do some? I got to make some noise up here, put on the clown show? Like, all right, listen, you'd probably go in and create some rapport, maybe kick off your shoes and get a lay of the land, look at the pictures on the thing. You would get to a, now in the insurance business or a sales business, you're going to get somewhere where they make decisions, right? You're going to probably get to a kitchen table, dining room table, something like that. But now you're at that part, and then you tell your credibility story, because what's the 4 reasons people buy? What's the first one? Credibility. I got to create some credibility. So they need to know that I'm credible. So I might show them my license and tell them I'm a local guy and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give some credibility. But then I'm going to pivot, because originally when I got the invite to the house, you know how I got in? I told them that I was going to come educate them on how Medicare works. Because guess what? They got the book, they got the 1.5 foot pile of mail, and that's their explanation. And thank God I exist, because I can help you understand all of that on one sheet of paper. And that's how I got in. So I already gave all my credibility stuff. And now I got to pivot into this fact finder, but they're probably sitting there wondering, well, when's the education coming? Right? We're going to get to the education in a second, because in order for the education to happen, I need to know a little bit more about the person sitting across the table from me, because I want to make sure that I'm educating them properly and it's specific to their situation. Everybody with me? So the pivot in, okay, the pivot in would sound something like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm going to ask you about the financial realities that affect your life in retirement. And that looks like questions around things like health expenses, retirement income, and final expenses. These are things that we find can either make or break somebody when they're in their retirement. And it's important for me to understand, kind of like a snapshot in time, what you've done so far to plan for these things. So that's my pivot in to asking these questions. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to find out where you're at. And I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to get pretty deep into these questions. I'm not doing all this today. This is a separate training. But you get really good at answering and asking questions, and even take it deeper than what's even in a fact finder, so that you can really learn where they have some pain. When you ask questions and you uncover things, and let me give you a really simple example. Who here's ever had somebody they knew that was in a nursing home? Needed care like that? Anybody? Young lady in the back, I got you. It's your turn. No, I'm just kidding. So, so when you think about that, if I were to start questioning her and say, tell me about it, tell me who it was, tell me what they had, tell me how long they were there, tell me what happened in the day of the life of the person that took care of them, she would take me down memory lane, just because people like to be able to tell you about themselves. But what's also happening while she's telling me that story? She's re-experiencing it, but she's also recognizing, what was the CPCL? What's the C? She's recognizing without me saying a word out of her own mouth what the consequences might be if she doesn't do something about it. Now, I have an opportunity on the way out. Now, you can't see this whole fact finder, and that's okay. But a part of this actually takes me back to the beginning, and it kind of says, okay, rate which one you think is most important to you and your family based on the questions you just answered. You answered all these questions. We uncovered together some pain. You're going to tell me now what's most concerning. And then I'm going to then ask you a simple question. It's going to be something like, if there were a way I could make that all go away for you, would you be interested in hearing a solution? Now I got permission to show them a solution. And they're going to say, well, absolutely, Ralph, because I don't want to have to experience that. If you have an idea, I want to hear it. I mean, they invited me there after all. Anyway, you get the idea. You got a fact finder. It helps uncover pain. It allows you to do the pickle and lead them into doing a product of some sort that might protect them. All right. Pain. Here we go. Next. I'm probably going slow. I didn't put my timer on either because it's attached to my phone. All right. Now, here's my We're going to get into some good stuff now. Yeah, that has to go up, please. All right. Who here thinks Medicare is complicated? I mean, Ralph, you just said it was complicated. They get a book and they get a stack, right? It's got to be the worst thing ever. Do you know that more agents don't get into the Medicare space because they think it's hard? It's so complicated. I don't want to do it. I'm going to demonstrate right now with the few people that I have here in this side of the room, and I know there's a whole bunch online. But who here has any kind of insurance, health insurance on themselves? Who? Almost everybody. Anybody here have group health insurance, like through an employer? Yeah. So watch this. I'm gonna demonstrate right now for you how easy Medicare really is, because aren't we all consumers? We are, aren't we? We have to make a purchase for ourselves. So, like when you go to a group health plan, when you have that at work, what do they call that one time a year thing that you have to go through? What do they call that? Anybody? Open enrollment, don't they? Interesting. That's what they call it in Medicare too. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So they have an open enrollment period. Now, what do you have to do during this open enrollment period? Anybody? You have to select, you have to enroll. I heard somewhere up here. You have to pick your plan. Well, what does that consist of? What do you consider as a consumer? What things go into how you pick your plan? Your group health plan, I'm talking about. What do you consider? What kind of things? Tell me, come on. Premium. Hold on, it's up here. Premium. Yep. So costs, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Deductibles. So that's also costs. Deductibles need to be taller. Well, now let's go deeper into benefits. What kind of benefits?
Like hospital.
Eh, you guys are deep. In network, out of network. So would you maybe want to know, hey, if I have an emergency or one of my kids have an emergency and break a bone, what happens if I go into the emergency room? Right? What happens if I need urgent care? What if I need an x-ray? What if I need lab work done? What if I need PT? What if I go into the hospital overnight? Now, oh, and when I'm done, I might need some pain medication or something. So I'm going to need drugs. Now, what I just demonstrated for you is this. A stands for admission, because Medicare is broken down into parts: Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Part A stands for admission. I think of it as room and board. Think of it like it's a hotel stay. I gotta pay for the facility I'm staying in. Okay? So you go to hospital, you're paying admission. Now, if I get admitted to the hospital, at some point they're going to do what? They're gonna boot me out. So B stands for when I get booted out, all the other stuff that I need to do, my doctor, my specialist, maybe my, other kinds of care, PT, chiropractic, whatever, all the other falls under B. Room and board in the hospital overnight, everything else, except drugs. Now you're all probably sitting there wondering, what are you wondering right now? Anybody? Well, what's this? What is this? You didn't write anything down there. Well, that is the private insurance companies that send the 1.5 foot pile of mail that help to cover the stuff that you're about to learn isn't covered if you just keep Medicare. See, because what people don't realize, and this is where it gets confusing, or they try to make it confusing, I think, but if you got Medicare and got the book and did nothing, because we don't exist, if we just weren't there to help them make a decision and they kept Medicare, because they can, you could do that. You could. Might not be a good idea. You're about to find that out, but you could. So what am I talking about? How would that work, Ralph? You know what I didn't think about? I have to erase every time I go to switch the screen. It's all right. So for those of you at home that are looking at my back right now, the point is you went, bought your group of health insurance, and you made the same kind of decisions that you can see how easy it breaks into Medicare. It's the same kind of decisions, isn't it? Let's talk about if I'm a client and I was going to keep nothing but Part A. All right, how's it work? This is where, yeah, we're about to talk about some pain. All right, what did we say Part A was? Admission, right? In the hospital overnight. Well, we might need that kind of care. The good news is they tell you in most cases, for most people, it would be free. Not in all cases, but for cases of people that have been working and paying into it, typically it's free. We're going to talk a little deeper about that. And I always laugh at that too, because it's not free. We prepaid for it, right? So it's not free. Now, let's see how great this coverage is. You ready? All right. I go, God forbid, into the hospital. I got to stay overnight for a stay for days 1 through 60. Okay. Good news. You got coverage. You would pay $1,736 out of pocket. It's called a deductible. Everyone understands a deductible here, right? Here's the other thing that people forget about. For benefit period. What's a benefit period, Ralph? Anyone have any idea what a benefit period is here? It's what you would think, right? That's what most people think. That's the problem because it doesn't work that way. So watch this. A benefit period is a 60-day time period. Okay, to make it as short as I can. So let's say I go into the hospital in January and I'm in for 4 or 5 days, whatever. I get a bill. I got to pay the first $1,736, and then Medicare picks up the rest because it was under 60 days, right? But let's say then I go back and it's been more than 60 days out of the hospital, and it's I don't know, April, and I go, oh God forbid, I got to go back into the hospital again. Well, guess what? It's another hospital stay, and it is a new benefit period. You're going to pay another $1,736. That face right there's the. Yes. Now, why do I point that out? I want you to think about what I've talked about to this point. Remember, I told you about the value, and I talked about the stack of mail, and I talked about the book. That face was perfect. I wish everybody out there could have saw her face, because that is exactly what a client does when I break it down to one sheet of paper. And guess what they do at that exact moment? They realize, oh my, this person really is saving me because I would have never known this. Right? Doesn't that produce value? Doesn't that even produce credibility? You're protecting their affordability too, aren't you? Heck yeah. Guess what? God forbid you're in the hospital for longer than 60 days. Oh, good news. If you're in there for 61 to 90 days, good news. You got coverage. You only have to pay $434 every day. That's above and beyond the $1,736 you paid for the first 60 days. I believe that works out to I forget, it's like $13,020 or something. Don't hold me to that. I always forget it's like dyslexia or whatever they call that. Get it all backwards. Anyway, so it ends up being a lot of money. And God forbid they got to go even longer than that. You can go for 91 to 150 days in the hospital. Good news, you got coverage. Bad news, you got to pay $868 a day. A day. I don't know if you do the rough math, it's like 51 grand or something like that. I think it's 51, like 020. Altogether, it's a lot. How many senior citizens, when they get to 65, have that kind of money to drop on one visit? Anybody? Anybody that fine? I mean, if we do enough planning with them, maybe, right, someday, but do we really want the money to go to that? Heck no. So you kind of see what I'm talking about here, right? And oh, by the way, this is important. God bless you, whoever sneezed. These are called lifetime reserve days. So that day 91 through 150, if you ever, God forbid, needed to use it, you only get them once your whole life. In other words, you use them. So I go in, I'm in there day 91, 92, 93, up through 150. Next year, I got to go in the hospital again after I got out from this time. Well, now I only got a maximum of 90 days because I already used my lifetime reserves the one time I was allowed to use them. It's like a bank, which means then they cover nada, right? Here's another thing. Who here knows where Medicare shuts off? Has anyone ever even heard of that before? No. Medicare shuts off. I used to use that actually to get into houses sometimes. And I'd have a phone conversation with somebody, and if maybe they were pushing back a little, I might say, let me ask you, do you know where Medicare shuts off? Now keep in mind, if I say that, they're probably remembering on their table they got a 1.5 pile mail and a book. And they just didn't want to deal with me. But sometimes that one question is enough for them to go, no, what do you mean Medicare shuts off? That's exactly why we got to get together. This is why I want to break it down on one sheet of paper for you. So here, first 20 days, this is skilled nursing care, right? Skilled nursing care. There are rules to this. I'm not going to go over all of them right now. You have to be in the hospital 3 days before you go in, da-da-da-da-da. But they all like getting paid, so they all know the rules. Trust me. Days 1 through 20, guess what? Good news, you don't have to fit skilled care. Days 21 through 100. You get the 100 days. Good news. From day 21 through 100, you pay $217 a day. They pay the rest. But at day 100, has anyone ever been in like a nursing home or one of those facilities and ever heard a nurse ever say their 100 days is up? She's shaking her head. Yes. Yeah. It happens all the time. So what they're really saying is, they've reached that max and now no one's paying. Because what you'll find out is a lot of the plans that are put together don't even cover that. So anyway, part A was what? Are we sleeping? Come on. You should be feeling this by now. The pain. Look at the pain up here. Look at what you're going to be able to protect this person from by simply knowing these facts. And I'm going to drop down. There is some home health. There is some hospice care. But where I'm going is blood. Anybody you got to pay the first 3 pints of blood. So if you need blood transfused, you got to pay for the first 3 pints if you have just Medicare. Just Medicare. Anybody got an idea how much a pint of blood is? That was good. She said an arm and a leg for those of you that didn't hear that online. An arm and a leg. On average, it's about $300 nationwide. So $300 a pint. So if you needed to do the first 3 pints, you also got to pay about $900 to get blood. God forbid you ever need it. So how's everybody feeling about part A? Real excited, right? Feeling a little pain. Should be. It can be quite expensive if these people don't get educated properly. And thank God people like us exist to do it. All right. Did I get it all? Boom. All right. So what's part B? What would it B stand for? I got booted out of the hospital, so I might need other care, right? Now, B is much simpler than A. However, you still got some gaps, and we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to go through it quicker than A, but here we go. So part B basically is all the other medical stuff. Doctors, inpatient and outpatient services, surgeries, so on and so forth. And it really works like this. Basically, after you pay a $283 deductible, then Medicare will pay 80% and you will pay 20%. Easy peasy, right? Sounds pretty simple. So basically, for the medical side of the house, now this is above and beyond that stuff we talked about on part A with the deductible, because that was for the facility. That's a whole different charge, a whole different bill, whole different thing. This is just for medical stuff. So that you'll pay the first 283 this year out of pocket. And I say this year because the government likes bumping those up very often, almost every year. And then it's 80/20. So imagine if you have a doctor's bill and it was already, you already paid your 283 for the year somehow, and it was $100. Well, that wouldn't be so bad, would it? Okay, they're going to pay $80. I'm going to pay 20. That seems okay. But what happens if, God forbid, you need an MRI and a CAT scan and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden that bill, instead of being $100, is $100,000. Now you get a $20,000 bill. How you feeling? How's that senior citizen feeling? Holy crap, right? Just bought the farm. All right, so it's hey, right? Thank you. Thank you. Joel's gonna take over for the. You're gonna feel some pain, baby. Right? There's lots of other stuff Part B can cover. Generally speaking, it's going to be an 80/20 plan after a deductible. Okay. I'm going to keep moving because if I get stuck, I get excited about this stuff. I love this stuff because people out there, 11,000 a day turn 65 and they need our help. They need our help. Who's going to help them? Going to let someone else do it? Wait till you see what Chris has to say later about how much you can make. Oh, that's the best part. We'll talk about that later. And that's just for helping people, doing the right thing, bringing value. Bringing value. All right, folks. Any questions so far? Okay, good. So here we go. Now, so again, we went through a little bit of a process here. Remember what I told you early on? Business owners have a system or a process that they follow. What I've taken you through so far is how to build some credibility, how to get to a table, how to do a pivot, how to get some information from your client, how to do an education. That's the next part. How am I going to educate them? And then what's available to them? Because you saw what the pain was, right? Everybody here saw that. If they kept just Medicare and didn't make a decision, they would be in a world of hurt. So now they have an opportunity to do something about it. This is where the big pile of mail could come in, maybe. That is actually option 2, Medicare Advantage plans. Option 1 is something called Original Medicare with a Medicare supplement and typically a Plan D RX prescription drug plan. We're going to talk about both of these, but the idea is I call this the Y in the road, where they now have an opportunity to choose one or the other path, whatever's right for them. The problem is if they just read the mail, what's the chances they're going to pick the right one? Good, maybe. How many times do they listen to their neighbor Phyllis? Hey, Phyllis got this plan. I always laugh at that. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Does Phyllis have different health than you? Yeah. How do you know that that's the right plan for you then? You know, I used to go down to Panera Bread. Who knows Panera Bread? Yeah. And you see all the senior citizens there in the morning getting their free coffee and hanging out and chit chatting and I would always love going in there like right before like open enrollment. And I got to be honest, I never really did this, but I really want to. So I want to go in when they're all saying they're all going to get the same plan, and I just want to grab like the 15 or 20 of them that are sitting there. It's usually the older guys. Let's be real. I want to take them out to the curb, tell them all pull out their key fob and hit the button. And they're all going to say, well, what do you mean? Well, you don't all have the same car. Why on earth would you pick the same health insurance just because your buddy has it? It makes sense. Anyways, it all wound up. So they have a choice. Who's eligible for Medicare? Well, we're going to blow through this. This will be pretty quick. People that are 65 and older, right? That's the most common one. People that are on disability. So you could be under 65 and qualify for Medicare, as long as you had been getting Social Security disability for 24 months or more. You can qualify through illness. So you can have either end-stage renal disease or ALS. And you also have to be a resident for 5 consecutive years. So Medicare enrollment, you're going to put the screen down. Is it getting choppy? We're just going to dance for a second. We're going to play with the PCL pickle. All right. No more pain. Now, there's always going to be pain in Medicare. That's what we're here for. All right. So the Medicare enrollment. So when someone needs to enroll for Medicare, do you think maybe they might need help with that? I mean, they got a book and they got a pile. Couldn't hurt to help them, right? There are a few different ways to go about helping somebody get set up for Medicare. It depends if they are 65 and already getting Social Security or not, because sometimes people work longer, so they didn't get Social Security yet, so they're not technically retired, but they qualify for Medicare. Just know that there are 3 different ways you can apply online. You can call Social Security directly, or you can walk right into your local Social Security office, and you can sign up for Medicare. Pretty short and sweet. Now, this looks familiar. It looks like that Y in the road I just showed you. You're going to find I do things repetitively on purpose. Repetitively on purpose, because original Medicare is A and B. A and B. A and B. Now, they have a choice. Well, watch this. Well, something else we didn't talk about is, we already talked about some of this. A, what is A again? Admission, right? Inpatient hospital, some skilled nursing, some hospice, and some limited home health care. How about the cost of A? We did talk a little bit about it, because for most people it is free. That's what you see up here on the board. If you've worked for 40 quarters or more, how many 40 quarters is how many years? 10 years. If you work 10 years of your life, you could get Part A at no cost. I call it prepaid because you paid in for 10 years of your life. Now, let's assume you didn't pay in that long and you paid at least 30 quarters of your life. How many is 30 quarters? I don't know. That's too hard of math. Forget about it. So if you work 30 quarters, you get a reduced cost. So remember how good Plan A was? All that great coverage you got, all the right? You only have to pay $311 a month for it to get a $1,738 deductible and all those daily costs. How you feeling? Ouch. Ouch. Oh, and if you paid less than 30 quarters, you can still get it. You can still get that wonderful coverage from the government, $565 a month. And that's just for Part A. I didn't even get into Part B yet. You can't qualify based on your spouse's work history. So know that. That's just a little offshoot that if it ever comes up, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Original Medicare Part B. What was Part B? Come on, y'all. Get booted out for all the other stuff, the doctors, the specialists, the so on and so forth, all the stuff up there. And how does this work? What's the cost? Well, Part B for most people is $202.90 per month this year. This year. I say this year for a reason, because it goes up every year. Last year was $185. This year it's $202.90. So just know that Part B always has a cost. Many of people, if you have Social Security and you sign up for Part B, many of times it will come right out of your Social Security check before you ever even get it to cover that wonderful coverage of Part B, the 80/20 side of the plan, with a little bit of a deductible. Now, the other part is, remember we talked about that fact finder earlier? Like there's some questions in this fact finder that are financial in nature. And sometimes I get agents that'll say, I don't know if I should ask that question. I feel a little pushy. Listen, we need to know. If I want to do, now what's my value? What do we sell here? What do we sell? Ourselves. If I want to sell myself and I want to make sure I ask the right questions to do so, don't be afraid to ask the questions. You're the licensed individual. You're the one with the information and the value to them that can take all of that stuff and make it simple. By knowing what they make, we could tell them, hey, guess what? You make a little too much, and you're probably going to pay more for Medicare than the most people would. With me? My point is it's important to know. Now, keep on moving. There's another way to create value for yourself. Who here knew that there was a late enrollment penalty for Part B? Some of you do. Good. There is. How many people that are at home that get the book in the mail, that get the pile of mail, how many of them know that there's a late enrollment penalty? They don't, unless they read that book. And even if they did, they probably don't know. They're probably looking at it like, I have no idea. I better call Ralph. That's me, Ralph, or one of you, right? So if you don't sign up for Part B on time, you can get a penalty. Here's the kicker. You pay a monthly cost of up to 10% for each 12-month period you didn't get signed up. How long does that last? Is it like a fine, like a speeding ticket? That's for the rest of your life. Forever. You pay that penalty forever. Do you think our value gets built up when we point these things out to these clients? They wouldn't get it any other way. You are an educator. Your value is you possess the information. They need it. And it's forced urgency. They have to talk to somebody. Or they'll make a decision that maybe is poor for them because they didn't talk to somebody. But we're going to get to them first, right?
Yes.
Man, you guys are sleeping on me. Oh, it didn't go off. Come on. All right, so you get the idea. You can have a late enrollment penalty on B. Original Medicare in general is about an 80-20 plan for most things, right? It's 80-20. However, there are things that Medicare just simply doesn't cover. And you see them over there on the right-hand side. Things like deductibles and copays. It does not cover prescription drugs. You notice in A and B, not once did I ever say prescription drugs. How many 65-year-olds do you know that aren't on a prescription drug? Most of them are. Now, do I think that's a great idea? Probably not, but they have to pay for drugs when they get into that time of life. Let's be real. Healthcare outside the United States, hearing aids. Hey, I saw there's some people out there with these things on, right? These spectacles. Do you think they might be important to people whenever they get older? Hell yeah. They got to be able to see. So, and then dental. I mean, if they have their choppers still at 65, they might want to keep them, right? The point is, Medicare does not cover any of those things at all. And I know you're probably right now, the money, it's muddy water. You're looking at it going, wait a minute. Someone told me somewhere that I can get that on some plan. That's the products. That's the foot and a half pile of mail. That is not Medicare. Y'all with me?
Yes.
Did I lose anybody? Anybody sleeping? Good. I hope not, because I'm all fired up. All right. So we talked about the why in the road. Remember, we went through a process. We did credibility. We did a fact finder. We did a little bit of education. Right? Now we're going to talk to them about what's the possible things to protect them. Go ahead. You have a question?
Still, I don't know if I'll
That's a good question. Save out, write it down. Please write it down. I want to make sure we answer it, but we're going to get to that at the end. I promise. Because if I start answering questions now, it's on. It'll be over. I might as well just shut it down. But we will. It's a great question, and we will get to it. I promise. So the first one is Medicare supplements. What's a Medicare supplement? They also call it a Medigap plan. Medigap plan. Now, what you're going to find out is these plans can cover some deductibles and copays. It gives you the freedom to choose any doctor in the whole United States as long as they take Medicare. You're going to find out what these standardized plan letters are in a minute. And what most people like about these is that there's a monthly cost. It's budget friendly because they know this is what it's going to cost, but they have to have some considerations of things like, will it go up? What's the experience of it going up? But it'll vary based on the insurance company. Where am I at on time? Cool. Okay. Well, I'm all right. So Medicare supplements. What else don't they cover? So keep in mind, we talked about A, we talked about B. Now we're talking about a supplement that's a policy from a private insurance company that fell under sort of C, right? It's private insurance that you pay a premium for. But what does it mean to supplement something? Say again? Add on. Well, if there's nothing there, can you supplement nothing? No, you can't supplement nothing. So if Medicare doesn't cover drugs, how can a supplement cover drugs? You can't supplement nothing. So supplements themselves do not cover drugs. That's important to know. Can you get drugs? Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So drug coverage can be added separately through something called a PDP. It's a prescription drug plan. That's your part D is in drugs, right? These were drugs, or you could get other creditable coverage through different kinds of plans. All right. Oh, here we go. So I always laughed at this because you know that book I talk about that comes in the mail? It's called Medicare and You. And if, in fact, I think there's a picture that shows up on the next screen just because I just want to show it. That's what it looks like. That's Medicare and You. And this is like page 78 or 9 of that book. All right. So I'm actually showing you now that this is what your consumer would be trying to decipher with their secret decoder ring, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. So what drove me nuts is that you got Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. Well, these guys went and said, well, we're going to call our plans Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Like, why couldn't they make it some other name? Right? It makes it confusing. But what are these? These truly supplement what Medicare doesn't cover. How? Well, so let's say I'm a client, and we've already kind of figured out here, like we talked about the Part B deductible, for example. We talked about the Part A deductible. How much was the Part A deductible? Anybody? Close. It was like $1,738. And the truth is, it goes up every year, so you'll forget by next year. Just know that there's a deductible there, and look at the book next year so that you're prepared to tell your client next year what it's going to be. How'd you like that? You didn't even like that in your agents. Imagine what the client feels like. So now, it's the truth. So you got the Part D, the A deductible, right? So if I have this Part B or Plan B, Plan C, plan all these different plans, and then here's a K, 50%, 75%. What do you think that means? That means that that plan is going to 100% cover that $1,738 deductible. But this Plan K would be 50% of it. Which one do you think is going to cost more? So let me ask you a question. Who has car insurance? Car insurance. Who here has a deductible on their car insurance? Uh-huh. So I got a $500 deductible or a $1,000 deductible. Which one ends up costing me more? 500, right? Because I'm willing to take on more risk if I take the $1,000 deductible. So if I'm willing to take on more of it myself, which one's going to be less expensive? Okay, yeah, I switched it up on you, didn't I? I said more expensive. Did it on purpose. You're right. K would be less expensive. I'm going to tell you right now that the plans G and plans N tend to be the most popular. There are multitudes of reasons for that, but you'll see that all those things like the 3 pints of blood, mostly covered. The only thing you're going to find out is Part B deductible. The federal government decided back in 2020 that they will not allow a Medigap plan to cover the Part B deductible anymore. So guess what? We're on the hook. No matter what, you pay the Part B deductible. If you get a Medicare supplement, you pay the first $283 this year. Who knows what it'll be next year? But it'll go up. So anyway, you guys, is there anyone here? Y'all follow me here? So you got Part A, you got Part B. Horrible, painful plans, right? You need something to fill those gaps. These types of plans can fill those gaps up real nicely so that literally do it right. Like a plan G is literally 100% almost all covered except for the deductible in Part B, but everything else is covered. So literally I could pay a premium. Maybe it's $130 a month at 65. I don't know. Depends on what area of the world you're in and lots of other details. But let's assume that. Well, then I'm paying $130 every month, and I know no matter what doctor or hospital I go to in the country, it's going to be covered. Period. I say, here's my card. See me. That's it. Simple as that. So they can be good, but there's reasons that people don't like them too. So why does someone want a med sup? First of all, we already talked about all the pain you go through to get into med sups, but a couple things. Health can be underwritten on med sups. We're going to talk about guaranteed issue periods and stuff here very shortly. Special enrollment periods, different ways you can get it guaranteed issue. Travel. For people that travel a whole bunch, they might want to consider a Medicare supplement because if you could use it anywhere in the country at the drop of a hat, you might consider that because you're going to find out the other kind aren't as forgiving. Oh, I'm hitting buttons before I'm ready. Predictable costs. Remember, I mentioned that it's 130 bucks a month. It's predictable. I know what the budget. I know how much I'm going to spend in a year. And premium. Premium isn't always the best indicator of which plan to pick. Who here thinks that if you saw quotes on the screen, you should pick the least expensive one every time? Anybody? Why wouldn't you? Seeing how no one here answered and raised your hand. It depends on the plan situation. You're 100% right. So the plan situation, what he's talking about is this. What you want to look at is the history of the carrier, right? A carrier may have had a 30% increase over the last 5 years. Well, would that be good for me to put my client that I just earned their credibility, value, trust, all that into if next year they're going to be really angry at me because it went up again? Or do I maybe do a little bit of homework for them on their behalf because I'm the agent, because I'm the value, and then I come in and say, oh, well, you might want to consider this one because it's been much more stable the last 5, 10 years. Just as an example, right? So being the least expensive isn't always the best in Medicare supplement world. Everybody good? All right. No one's sleeping yet. So I think it's like bonus, baby. Here we go. All right. What's next? We got to add on Part D. Remember, Medicare supplements don't have drugs. So how's Part D work? We're going to go real quickly through Part D because it's pretty simple. Standalone prescription drug plan. You must have Medicare A, B, or both in order to have one of those PDP prescription drug plans. As part of Medicare Advantage plan, you can get Part D. In fact, most of Medicare Advantage plans include Part D or the drugs, and that's actually one of the things you're going to find out are why people tend to lean towards those. Part D coverage information, it covers some of the prescription drug costs. What's that mean? Who here had the group plans again? Right. So when you go to the pharmacy, do you pay a copayment or a co-insurance or percentage? Yeah. Well, that's what they mean when it says cover some of the prescription. You got to cover a little bit of it, whatever your copay or co-insurance is. The insurance company pays the rest. That's exactly how these work. You must continue to pay your Part B premium, and you must live in the Part D service area that you're buying the plan from. That only makes sense because if you buy one from somewhere else, I'm not going to cover your drugs. So, guess what? Remember how there was a Part B in late enrollment penalty and how that was going to help build your value because you knew that and they didn't? There's also a Part D late enrollment penalty. And guess how long that one lasts? The rest of your life. You have a question.
You don't need.
It's a good question. So you have two choices. You can, and I've seen people do this. They just decide I'm not doing it and I'm going to pay that 1% penalty whenever the time comes. However, it adds up. So you end up paying an additional premium, or they go with a plan that includes the drugs, whether they pay for it or not. So Part D, and we're going to get there. That's the next step. So point being, there is a late enrollment penalty exists, but because we're able to help educate you on how that works, you can educate the client. Do you see what she's doing? I love this. I wish I could get you on screen because your reaction is exactly what the clients do. It's exactly what the client, because it's so absurd, isn't it? It's absurd. And this is why people like us have to help these people. If we understand it and we become their valuable resource, not only are you going to talk to them about all this stuff, you are going to have them buy any product under the sun that you want them to buy from you because they'll trust you, period. Anyway, let's keep moving or I'm going to run out of time. All right. Oh, no. Oh, no. We didn't just lose the whole Zoom meeting, I hope. All right. So the other part of Part D, and actually this has improved a little bit. So deep breaths back in the back there. I know this is, I wish they would call these stages a little different. I wish they would just call this, I can't write on that. Almost. So we'd have been buying a new screen. Whoops. Almost. They should call this stage you pay. They should call this stage you and insurance company share, and they should call this stage insurance company pays, because that's what it is. Here, you're going to pay up to a deductible. This year, that deductible is up to about $615, depending on what plan you're on. Once you've hit that number, then you share in the cost. What was shared cost? Co-pays, co-insurance, right? You'll pay up until out of your own pocket, you pay $2,100. So once you hit that maximum number, then it goes to this, where the insurance company pays 100%. This has become a big deal in the last couple of years, and it's been actually a really big blessing to a lot of people. So that's how Part D, generally speaking, works. The other reason, remember, you were asking the financial questions, and sometimes people push back, and we had that conversation. Well, if you don't know, you wouldn't know if they qualify for low income stuff either. So it could be both ways. They might pay more on Part B, or they might actually qualify for something that you could give them maybe for nothing. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't ask the questions. So what's the second Y in the road? Do you remember, anybody? What? Come on. Huh? Come on. What was it? There it is. Medicare Advantage. I guess I should have heard you the first time. All right. So Medicare Advantage is a little bit easier than the Medicare supplement. Okay. The supplement just supplements everything Medicare doesn't cover. Medicare Advantage, what you're doing is replacing Medicare. So look at it this way. The government basically goes to all the people that are carriers, the 1.5-foot pile of mail that you get, right? Those are all the carriers. And they're basically saying, hey, we'll give you the money that they send us. You take that person on as a risk. So, I don't know. What's the local carriers down here? They don't have Highmark. They got Devoted, Humana. All right. So all those people that you've heard of, right? Anthem, Devoted, right? What they do is they basically take that person on as a risk and say, I'll insure them. And what they're basically doing is they're saying, we're going to give them Part A and Part B. We're going to include Part D on most of the plans. And it lumps it all together, which people like, because they don't have to get a separate policy for Medicare supplement, a separate policy for a drug plan. And then, oh, by the way, you still got to pay the premiums on all of that. You got to pay the B premium. You got to pay the Medicare supplement premium. You got to pay the Part D premium. On these, they wrap it all up into one nice little bow, right? And the federal government actually says it has to be as good or better than Medicare. So in order for one of those carriers, the Humanas, the Devoteds, the Anthems, all of them, they have to be as good or better than Medicare, original Medicare. So I am not going crazy on this part. Listen, who here has heard of an HMO? Who here has heard of a PPO? Right. And then you got EPOs and POS plans. Well, these are basically, you're going to have to stay in network. It's a little tighter. Typically, it's a little less expensive because you're willing to do so as a client. Cool. This one gives you some out of network benefit. So yeah, you go out of network, you might pay a little more if you do go out of network, but we still give you some coverage. And it's usually a little more robust and a little more expensive because they give you that availability. The other ones are kind of hybrids between the two. We're not going to go too deep into those. If you want to get the materials that we gave you the QR code for earlier, by all means, go and research those. Or if you want to call and ask us questions, we'll be happy to answer those. But that just kind of categorizes the types of Medicare Advantage plans that are out there. Who's an MA client? Well, why wouldn't I just want something like a Medicare supplement? I can go anywhere and I just pay a premium. Well, sometimes people want that low upfront cost. I told you some of them have a zero premium, right? Imagine having zero premium. Oh, that'd be cool. Maybe they're on a fixed income. Maybe they're low income subsidy or something. Maybe it's people just like we talked about the people on group insurance earlier, right? What do we get used to? We get used to co-payments. We get used to co-insurances. We get used to that stuff. Maybe they're comfortable with that because these plans work very similarly to what they were used to during their working life. So they're very similar that way. Low or no travel people, people that are just happy at home and happy staying around the region. Typically, these are great plans for. And satisfied with regional network coverage. No need for any additional benefits, or they have a need, I'm sorry. They have a need for additional benefits like dental, vision, and hearing. Did we talk about these earlier? I saw a few people in the crowd has those. And we agree that after 65, you'll probably need them even worse, right? How about those choppers, right? We want to keep this at 65. I mean, I'd like to, I'm hoping. And then, of course, hearing aids, those types of things. Medicare Advantage plans oftentimes, because it has to be as good or better than Medicare, and they're taking you on as a risk, so they're making a decision to insure you. They have the opportunity, if they want to add things on like that, which many of them do, because they want you to come to their carrier, right? So they'll offer those types of things, which do you think that's attractive to senior citizens today? You better believe it, because they like their eyes and their teeth. All right. They don't want any, they don't want any of that pain. All right. Where am I at on time? Oh, I'm almost there, and I'm almost done. So I already covered most of this. You got an idea how this all works. You got Medigap, you got Medicare Advantage. They put them side by side. They talk about they both have different kinds of cost sharing. They both can have premiums. A lot of the Medicare Advantage doesn't have a premium, but they can have a premium. And most all of the Medigap plans will have a premium. Referrals over here, you don't need a referral to go see any specialist or any doctor for that matter. And these ones, typically, you got to go to an in-network provider. Again, depending on what kind of plan you have, sometimes you could go to a specialist without the referral. Other benefits, we just discussed this, right? This generally only covers, it can only supplement what Medicare does cover. You can't supplement nothing. So that's how that works. This one here includes a lot of other stuff because they're allowed to, right? Because it's a private insurance company insuring you. And then enrollments, different roles for different people, which we're talking about next. Boom. Am I good still? All right. Enrollment periods. And keep in mind, I think I said at the very beginning, this is a 6-hour training course that I put into about an hour and a half. So I know I'm blowing through a little bit of this, but keep in mind, this will all be available very soon through video, that you'll be able to get pieces of this that are much more in depth than what you're seeing today. So I'm blowing through a lot of this. And the deck is on the QR code, which that QR code at the very beginning, this whole deck that I just went through is available on that QR code. So you can actually go through page by page by page. Enrollments. So there's an initial enrollment period. It's probably the most important part for people to understand. This is a once in a lifetime event for most people, unless you're disabled. For most people, it's once in a lifetime. My birthday's in October. So my month would be October the 1st of the year I turned 65. That means 3 months prior to, which is what, July, August, September, then October, November, December, January, right? So that's my window for my initial enrollment period. Now, why is that important? Let me tell you why. Remember the why in the road. They have to make a decision on what's based on what questions they answered that you took the time to ask, and now they have to make a proper decision based on their health and their situation. During this period is the one time in their life they can choose one or the other of those with no health consequence at all. They don't have to answer any health questions. They could just go sign up for one, and they have to take them. But it happens once. Okay. Special enrollment periods. There are special enrollment periods. Just like who here, again, group plans, when you work, whether special enrollment scenarios, had a baby, got divorced, got married, had kids, right? There were special occasions where you would have a special enrollment period. Medicare is no different. Same kind of a thing. Medicare Advantage plans have specific rule. They have something called annual enrollment period. Annual enrollment period. That happens from October 15th to December the 7th. I'm going to tell you, you'll probably write, if you're in this industry, 70 to 80% of your business will happen between those 7-week time periods. Did everybody catch that? So a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to get into this industry. It's too complicated. I don't want to do it. What if I told you, you know what? Put in 7 hard weeks every year. Just put your head down, work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Well, most of them, and anyway, we got to sleep a little. But the point is, if you put your head down, I mean, you can make a killing during that time, because guess what? In their head, it's just like work. I got to go and make my decision. And if you're their agent, you want to get in front of them. You want to make sure you keep your business on the books, because you're going to find out from Chris in a minute why, because it's profitable for you. But it's a time that happens every year that you can write a ton of business. Question?
There's such a thing as a second initial enrollment period.
No. Initial enrollment period? No.
Second chance enrollment.
Here's the only time that would happen. The only time that would happen, I stepped on the cord again. I'm getting good at this. The only time that would happen is in the event that somebody is disabled and has Medicare as a result of being disabled. So let's say I'm 58 years old and I'm disabled for more than 24 months and I'm on Medicare. Okay, well, I could get Medicare after being on for 24 months. So that's the initial enrollment period that time. But then when I turn 65 for that person, for someone that's disabled, they would get another initial enrollment period. That's the only time you get another initial enrollment period. We'll get into that. That's a great question. The answer is yes, generally, but we'll get into all of those questions. You're a little ahead of us. We're going to answer questions at the end, I promise, and I want to make sure they get answered. So I'm not trying to ignore you, but like I'm not trying to cause any no pain. All right. Second part, open enrollment period. Well, what the heck is that? I thought we just talked about that. No, there's an annual enrollment period and an open enrollment period. I always say like this: if I were an employer and I was in an employer plan and I picked my plan, and then I go in January to my doctor and find out, uh-oh, they're not in network. Something's wrong. I thought I picked a plan with my doctor in network. That's a problem. Well, if I'm in an employer plan, what happens? I got to keep that plan till next year. Probably got to go pick up another doctor. Hopefully, there's no real serious problems, right? With open enrollment period, I call it the oops enrollment period. Oops, I made a mistake. So what it allows you to do is if you have a Medicare Advantage plan as of December 31st of the previous year, you can then make a one-time change to another Medicare Advantage plan during January 1st to March 31st every year. So it's the oops enrollment period. All right, Medicare supplements, pretty simple. You get a 6-month window when you get Part B. You sign up for Part B, you get 6 months. Start the clock. Or your 65th birthday, which you would have gotten that initial enrollment penalty or period anyway. No medical underwriting during the initial 6-month enrollment period, and you can choose from all the Medicare supplement options. Guaranteed issue periods. There are several guaranteed issue situations for med subs. Things like loss of coverage, moving to a new area, lots of different reasons that might occur. All plan options may not be available. So if you go into a scenario where it's a special enrollment period, a carrier has a right to say, well, I can give you a guaranteed issue, but it's only going to be on plan G and N. I can't do it on any other plan. So they can do that. If you do not qualify for a guaranteed issue situation, you may need to undergo underwriting, meaning you have to answer health questions to get approved, right? So that's one of the drawbacks that people see with supplements. All right, almost there. All right, I'm going to get through this. Centers of influence, educational seminars, and form. I love form. All right. So once we're all out there, it's important now. We got to make sure we go and actually talk to people. Huh. Does anybody out there agree with me on that one? Okay, good. You got that like glazed over. Is he almost done? I wouldn't want to listen to me this long either. Listen, so there's a few ways you could do that. Who could tell me what a center of influence is? Center of influence. Everybody has one. You just don't know it yet. Could be. Anybody belong to any clubs here? How about a church or a place of worship? How about you know, who said nonprofit? Nonprofit. That's right, nonprofits work. How about who here? I see some ladies in the room. I'm gonna pick on you a little bit if that's okay. Ladies, do you get your hair done? Anybody? You get haircuts? Hmm? Wait, who said that? Who said that? We're all natural. I love it. Anyway, so you get your hair done, you get your nails did, you get whatever, right? You go do your stuff. One of the lines I like using to create centers of influence sometimes would be something like this. And it's simple. It's simple. Like, maybe the name of your hairstylist is Molly. Hey, Molly, you know what? I really like coming here to get my hair cut. And you know what? I really like doing business with people that do business with me. Did you catch that? I really like doing business after I just gave her a compliment that I love coming here. I really like doing business with people that do business with me. What do you think they might ask me next? What the heck do you do, man? Right? That's exactly what I want them to say. Because now I'm going to give them whatever your 10-second, 30-second elevator pitch is. You all probably work on that all the time. Use it right here. That's the moment. Use it. That's a lead. That's a center of influence. That's somebody in your center of influence already. And you're doing business with them, spending money and doing business with them. Why not ask them to do business with you? Huh, how dare they not? Hello? All right. Educational seminars are another neat little thing that we have, right? Educate. Now, you all sat through an hour and 15 minutes of my loud mouth. I know, I'm sorry. I appreciate it. How many people out there that are not insurance agents? They get that book in the mail, they get that pile. How stressed out and frustrated do you think they're feeling? Right? Pretty stressed out. I get this pile like this high. I think to myself, which one? Educational seminars are something that our people use a lot, and we can give you the deck and the whole setup and get you on your way to do them. And all you're doing is going and giving an educational seminar similar to what I'm doing here today, a little different. But you're educating people on how Medicare works. Hark, imagine that. Do you think that they might get some value out of that? What were the four reasons people buy? Credibility, value, affordability, urgency. All right. Well, I'd be pretty credible if I'm putting on a seminar and it's at a place that they're already used to going. I'd be providing value because they get the book and they get the pile of mail and they don't know what to do with it. So I'm valuable. So they come to an educational seminar and guess what? I get names and I get leads because they realize, wow, I need that person in my life. They know what I don't know and I need them. So educational seminars are an awesome way to do it. I'm going to go real quick through form. You may have even heard of form before. Anyone here have heard of form? Form? You use it. I love form, man. I keep saying I'm going to write a book about form. Family, occupation, recreation, message. You know what it is? Got it? I'm not even going to go through it. I'm not going to recover. Why would I do that? I get all fired up, though. If you want to go through it, we can. My versions, I call it the bump. The bump. You know what the bump is? I'm sitting at the grocery store. You can use this to talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I mean anyone, anywhere, anytime. Because everybody has a family. And if they don't, they have friends. And if they don't talk to them. You don't want to talk to them anyway. They're the wrong one. Right? Occupation. Everybody works. They're doing something or something. They have a hobby, right? Recreation. They like camping or some kind of sport. And you know how easy it is to pick one of those three out when I'm standing in line at the grocery store and I see two little kids bouncing around in the cart in front of me. And I might see like a half crazed mother standing there. And I might just say something like, man, you got your hands full. And I'm starting with family because they're right in front of me, right there. And all I did was make a comment. It's the bump. I just made a bump and see if they respond at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself through a conversation because chances are if I'm at the grocery store, I'm probably local to home. I probably have kids that go to the same school. Hey, what school do they go to? Now be careful. Don't be creepy because the people start thinking, oh, what are you asking these questions about my kids for, right? So be careful. But the idea is ask people, hey, where do you work? What kind of work do you do? Do you like what you do? I heard that's a great company to work for. Recreation. Hey, I see you're wearing a whatever. What is it down here? The Atlanta Braves hat, right? So start a conversation. People like talking about one thing the most. You know what it is? Themselves. Let them do it. And then the message is just dropping the message. It's, hey, I want to invite you to church this week. Come on down. That's my message particular to that moment. Or maybe it's, hey, I would really love the opportunity to show you what I can do to help you protect those two beautiful kids that are jumping around in that cart right now. I got time on Monday and Wednesday next week. What's your schedule like? Bam! Sound like Emerald now. Anyway, and that's like pain. Oh man, I just realized that. Anyway, we have tons of lead vendors. Listen, if you guys want any help with that, you guys can definitely talk to us. We have multitudes of ways to get you in front of people. And our technology, I'm going to tell you right now, I told you I was in this industry going on 19 years now. This is the reason I came to Neishloss and Fleming. Because as an agent, I was using this and it changed the way I looked at the ease of putting this in front of people. So the technology is world class. It truly is. It takes a client from putting a new name in the system because I made a bump and I got a name. I got to put it somewhere, and takes them all the way through the whole quote process and application process and everything. Exclusive benefits. If you belong to us, we have tons of different ways that you could go on to get all kinds of discounts. You said you have Samsung, I have Apple, there's Nike, there's Amazon, there's tons of them. I want you to picture a big company like Integrity. It's the largest Medicare marketing company in the United States. And it's like Sam's Club or Costco. They buy a whole bunch of stuff in bulk, and then we get to buy it cheaper. Just too much of it usually, right? But you can get that same kind of a discount passed on to you because you participate with Integrity, and we are thankful for it. For example, 50% off of E&O coverage, right? Who here has E&O coverage? Everybody here should have it, right? Imagine getting 50% off next time you go to renew that thing just because you are a participant in this organization. And then Lead Center, again, lots of ways of getting leads. And I think, oh, thank you. I want to bring Chris Holmes up, and Chris is going to talk to you about the financial opportunity. I am very thankful that you had me up here speaking, but don't kick that wire. Chris is turn. Can I got water down there? It's right. Oh yeah, you do.
Perfect.
Somebody kicked the wire.
It's probably Ralph.
Wasn't close enough to.
All right. Hopefully the audio is coming in here. Well, first, give a round of applause for Ralph, right? I will tell you this. I've seen a lot of Medicare. So which one's which here real quick? So this is going to go forward, and which one's the laser right here? Perfect. So I've seen a lot of Medicare 101s. I've even done a few myself. And I will tell you this. Not many of them can go in depth and completely give you real life examples of how to tie in all of the quirks of Medicare, all the challenges of trying to understand it. Ralph does a really, really good job there. So again, let's give one more round of applause for Ralph. Also, this guy was losing his voice all day yesterday and somehow powered through all of that. So kudos to Ralph here. So now that we were able to talk about Medicare and how to avoid, I'm going to steal this real quick, and how to help people avoid the pain, who wants to learn about the financial opportunity behind it? How much money can we make here, right? I think ultimately we all really want to know this question. So, other way. Look at that. I'm going backwards. We're all about going forward here. So first, let's just look at the commissions. And right now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over Medicare Advantage commissions. In the state of Georgia in 2026, I did talk to you about Medicare supplements. Those commissions will vary. However, we're going to follow the Medicare Advantage commission structure because, quite frankly, majority of the business we see from HGI and realistically the entire Neishloss and Fleming agency, 70% of it's Medicare Advantage. That's ultimately where the market's going. You can see that it comes with all the additional benefits, everything such as that. And quite frankly, when we look at the affordability that Ralph was talking about, Medicare Advantage could be $0 a month. It could be $100 a month. There's so many ranges in between, and it's the all-in-one package. So let's focus on the Medicare Advantage commissions. So somebody turns 65. They're going through the initial election period or enrollment period, such as Ralph was talking about earlier. And their first time going on Medicare, they enrolled in Medicare Advantage. You will get paid from the carrier a lump sum payment of $694. Now, not the biggest number in the world, but let's talk about how the value comes in years 2 and beyond. you'll see this word down here, annual renewal. This is the only one of the few businesses that will pay you a sizable piece of commission every year beyond its initial year being effective. So let's just look at it like this. T65 consumer, somebody who just turned 65 and rolls into a Medicare Advantage product, we get $694. Every single year that consumer stays active with you, or maybe they even switch into another Medicare Advantage product. Because again, these plans change year to year. Medicare Advantage changes all the time. That's why we give them 6 months out of the year to be able to change it pretty much, right? So every single year you have that consumer on your book of business, you will maintain a $347 renewal. Now that renewal, depending on the situation, can either come lump sum or per member per month. There's variations in between each. We're not going to get into that today, but we